Good morning, folks. I've decided to make it my mission to add to the already vast numbers of videos on YouTube that are debunking the flat Earth. Making videos about it is just my way of helping myself to understand all the issues, but also to fill a few gaps here and there where I can identify them. And this particular video, I'm going to focus in on sun and moon problems, the problems that presents for flat Earth. Now, I've got a little preamble here. Flat Earthers do not have physics or astronomy degrees. I should point out that I don't either. But I don't think you'll find many people who are deeply versed in these areas and mathematics as well that believe in flat Earth. So there's a problem of really a lack of skill on the flat Earth side. Um, they believe that all history is faked and that somehow all 18,000 NASA employees are in on one giant scam operation. They don't believe that anyone's ever been to space. They don't believe that rockets can go to space. They believe that all the photos of the Earth from space are fake. That's quite a difficult nut to crack. The all history faked, I mean, that's ridiculous because the very same people will also tell you in their posts that you should read books. So, what books would you read then? Just fiction? It's a bit of an overreaction. Now, they say history is written by the victors. And definitely, there's some aspects of history we should be looking at with a critical eye, but to say that all history is faked, Alexander the Great didn't exist, you know, um, and that kind of thing. Or what's even worse than that, I find, is actually picking and choosing which bits of history are true and which are false. Have to be careful of that. Flat earthers tend to distrust all authority. Now, I completely understand that. Because I don't believe in big government. I believe that governments are running a lot of scams. The most people that have died in history has been at the hands of their governments. I think you call that democide. Millions, hundreds of millions of people. Look at what happened in China under Mao. And especially since 2020, I am not at all personally in agreement with anything that the governments did since 2020. And I'm not going to go into that too much. With this virus thing, right? I'm not going to go too much into that on YouTube. But I totally get why the flat earthers distrust authority, because I do myself. And also, the next point, these are people that I respect and are excellent in other fields. So let's say the topic of medicinal mushrooms for health. Some of these people that believe in flat earth are super amazing when it comes to alternative health and topics like that. And this is what I don't like about some of these sort of professors that are on YouTube debunking flat Earth is they're condescending, and some of these people I'd say are people that I love actually, not just respect, and they just seem to have got too far down this rabbit hole of believing that absolutely everything is fake. These very same people, they use GPS devices, they use all this technology that is a lot of it is linked directly to the Earth being curved. You cannot navigate in the oceans without a basic understanding of the shape of the Earth. So there we go. The reason I'm using the Cassius Clay to Muhammad Ali analogy is when Cassius Clay became a Muslim, I don't know the full ins and outs of why he became a Muslim, but it appears to me like it's a reaction to everything. He was up against the entire system. So becoming a Muslim is almost like the biggest act of revolt that he could make against the system. That's just how I look at it. I might be wrong on that, but it's an analogy that I use. And so with the flat earthers, they are literally anything that governments and scientists say, they want to believe the opposite. That is unreasonable. Now, scientism definitely is a problem where the people in the white coats think that they own the science. They even come on the World Economic Forum, comes on videos saying they own the science. Just watch the Graham Hancock interviews on Joe Rogan and see the kind of hate that that guy has come up against for questioning the established views on archaeology, for example, which he absolutely has a right to do. And if you watch the Graham Hancock series on Netflix, you'll see he's definitely onto something. And yet he is dismissed by the establishment because they learned what they learned at university, and they become very unflexible. So scientism is a problem. I think we have to approach this subject with an open mind. So sun and moon problems. Just want to look at some figures first. So for the flat Earth, the distance from the Earth to the moon, they say, is 4,828 kilometers or 3,000 miles. Same distance from the sun. Here's a reference that I'll put in the description. It's kind of like the flat Earth wiki thing, where you can check that. That's my understanding and what they believe. To be honest, I'm not sure that all flat earthers believe the same stuff. So I'm just going by what I could find here. Whereas on the spherical Earth, well, we feel science has established that the moon is 384,400 kilometers away from the Earth. That's 238,855 miles. The sun is 150 million kilometers away, 93 million miles away from the Earth. Now, the diameter of the moon and sun for flat earthers, again, I have no idea how they've come to these figures. The only place you're going to find anything on this is BitChute. And BitChute, I love BitChute. It's brilliant for free speech. There's videos I can put on there that if I put on YouTube, I'll be instantly banned. And they're not hate videos. They're just videos questioning the narrative right. However, you're going to find a load of crap on BitChute as well. So, if I'm honest, I haven't sifted through all of the flat Earth videos on BitChute. I have looked at some. As I look at some more, I guess I'll get a clearer picture on how they've come up with these diameters. But just at first glance, they do seem somewhat ridiculous. 51.5 kilometers or 32 miles in diameter for both sun and moon. Whereas for those of us that live on a globe, we believe that the moon is 3,475 kilometers or 2,159 miles in diameter. The sun is huge, 1.39 million kilometers, 865,000 miles in diameter. This is what the flat earthers believe the model is for the sun and moon, right? So it's like one of those, like one of those snow things that you made of glass, and you hang them upside down and shake them, and then the snow starts falling inside it, the little glass thing. And the sun and moon are just spinning above that, and they're way, way smaller than the Earth. This is what they believe. And here's a little video that I think I grabbed this from the Washington Post. This is what they think it looks like, right? So to recap on the distance, the flat Earth, and the diameter. Okay. And this is a video that I grabbed from Professor Dave. I just grabbed an extract now. He is absolutely merciless to the flat earthers. He has them for breakfast, right? And like I said, I don't want to be quite as rude to them as him, because some of them I would consider people that I look up to in other areas, not in blooming astronomy and physics and maths, though, I'm afraid. This guy absolutely crushes them, but this is an interesting one. So let me just play this extract from him as well. Check out his videos. He says he's giving them no quarter now because he's just fed up of their nonsense. But fair enough. Drives a hard bargain, this guy.
Now let's go to the one you showed me for night and day. We all know that precisely half the Earth is experiencing day and the other half is experiencing night at any given time. So your model must reflect that, and this one does, but at the cost of being even remotely reasonable. You've got the sun illuminating half this surface with an arbitrary and rigidly straight line down the middle. How does this work? How does light leave this object and travel one distance to stop here, and travel some totally different distance to stop over here? You guys love to talk about refraction and such things, so please explain how that works. And that's not the only problem. Here, you've got the sun and moon always opposite each other. Well, sometimes we can see the sun and moon at the same time. How does that work? What is an eclipse? When in this model does the moon get under the sun to block it? How do they get on opposite sides of the Earth for a lunar eclipse? If the sun is very, very close and is also the source of all our heat, why doesn't it get hotter when you go up towards it in elevation? None of it works. Now let's go to...
So there you are. So summary of these videos. On the flat Earth, if we go back to this model, it looks like the total kind of illuminated area is equal to the radius of the flat Earth. Whereas on Professor Dave's video, he's showing much more of a kind of a straight line demarcation between the light of where the sun is and where the moon is. And I guess that's based on debates he's had with the flat earthers and videos they've showed him. So the radius, though, of the spherical Earth, we should point out, is the measurement from the core to the edge. That's 3,958 miles, 6,371 kilometers. So therefore, the diameter is double that, and it is 7,926 miles, or 12,756 kilometers. So these are greatly different figures to the radius on the flat Earth. With the flat Earth, it's just center to edge, from North Pole to edge, whereas with the spherical Earth, it's obviously different. So here's the heliocentric model that has been believed for thousands of years. I've got no problem with this. What you'll notice is everything in here is a sphere, all the moons and everything. For some reason, they just don't want to accept that the Earth is. They prefer that to be a disk. But it's not in keeping with the shape of the other planets, which you can clearly observe. You can look at the moon. You can look at planets with the naked eye and with telescopes. I don't think the flat earthers dispute that the other planets are spheres. Just another way of looking at that. Honestly, I've got no problem with this at all. How did we arrive at the measurements? Distance to the sun from the Earth. Flat Earth? I have no clue. Maybe BitChute will enlighten me as I dig into those videos more, and I will read them. As painful as it is, I found it quite painful to read the Quran, but I still read it. I found it painful to read Mein Kampf, horrible book, but I still read it. And I will watch these BitChute videos on Flat Earth. So how we got at the measurement to the sun, Aristarchus of Samos. See my video on great thinkers debunking Flat Earth, because he lived a long time ago, before Christ. And then Christian Huygens in 1653, and then the follow-up from Giovanni Cassini afterwards. And I'll leave the links in the description so you can check them all out. How we measure distance to sun in more modern times, the heliometer, until fairly recently, that's deprecated now because now we have radio telescopes, and yes, the sun does emit radio waves as well as infrared and all kinds of other things, so you can accurately measure those and calculate the distance. And I'll drop all these references in the description. It takes a lot of time and a lot of research to get to the bottom of all this stuff, unless you've got a degree in physics, astronomy and maths, in which case it's a piece of cake. It was taking me a lot of time to go through all this. And I wonder if that's the thing, that a lot of these people that are jumping on the flat earth bandwagon are not investing the time. But I can't assume that, though, because I don't know. How we arrived at measurements, distance to the moon, flat earth, I have no clue. at this point in time. Um, they say it's 3,000 miles. Spherical Earth, Aristarchus figured this out hundreds of years before Christ was born, and the follow up work was done by Hipparchus, who is also the father of trigonometry. These are clever dudes. I mean, if you dig into it, you figure out just how way, way ahead of time they were. The patience they must have had to have stand in one place and then have a guy standing in Alexandria helping them out, hundreds of miles away, recording the observations, feeding it back to them, and then they're sitting down and they're working out their trigonometry calculations and coming up with equations and formula. It's mind blowing, and I'm not ready to throw all this stuff in the bin. No way. So the Aristarchus way is all to do with lunar eclipses, I think. The Hipparchus way is also lunar and solar eclipses. I'll drop the descriptions in I'll drop the links in the description box so you can take a look at that yourself later. Like I say, it takes time to dig into this stuff. You have to put the time in before you form an opinion. You can do some rudimentary measurements of the distance to the moon using a coin. I think you might be able to do the same with the distance to the sun. Anyway, check these links out. I guess you've got to be careful with your eyes, though. How we measure the distance to the moon today. Now, there is one method that involves firing lasers at metallic objects that were dropped on the moon by men that supposedly walked on the moon. Now, this is one thing that I don't dismiss is the conspiracy theories around the lunar landings, because I'm not really on board with that, because with the lunar landings, because I'll drop a link in the description which you can watch. But basically, I can't figure out how they fitted the moon buggy inside the lunar lander, unless it was some kind of IKEA flat pack job. I don't know how they put the camera on the moon that filmed the lunar lander taking off and going back to Earth, and how they beamed that back to the Earth was it 1969? The couple of years thereafter, and the fact that there's been no voyages to the moon in a very long time. And I did see a clip where the NASA scientists said they'd lost the technology.
2016, retired astronaut Don Pettit made this famous statement, sparking debate about its true meaning.
The problem is we don't have the technology to do that anymore. We used to, but we destroyed that technology, and it's a painful process to build it back again.
It doesn't quite stack up. So let's discard the firing the lasers at the metallic objects to measure the distance to the moon. I'm not saying that that's fake. I just don't know for sure. But you can also measure it apparently by using radar. Fire some radar at the moon, and then you've got your measurement. And you can look at this link in the description to read more on that. These are videos that explain the trigonometry that the ancients used to calculate these distances and measurements, and it's super in depth, but it's super interesting. And there's no way that I have the expertise to go into the equations and that these guys go into. And definitely check out Professor Dave. He's an interesting character. He shows no mercy to flat earthers, so if you're a flat earther, you have to be prepared to take it on the chin. But I'd still recommend watching his debunk videos. Problems with flat earth distances. This is a quote from Professor Dave. If you climb up in altitude and the sun's only 3,000 miles away, you should be burning up. That's not what happens. Everest is only 5.5 miles tall. Bit different when the object is 93 million miles away, when you're only a minuscule fraction closer by climbing up in altitude. Why is the sun the same size as at the horizon when it goes down? I'll dig into that some more, because some of the flat earthers are saying it gets smaller. I don't think so, but I'll dig into that some more. How do flat earthers explain the lunar eclipse? The shape on the moon is always a rounded curve. The shadow. The only shape that can cast a shadow that's curved from any direction that you put the light on it is a sphere. The pictures of Earth in space, yeah. Either you believe they're fake or they're not. I can't see how 18,000 NASA employees could be in on the same scam. And on one of the references where the scientists are discussing this, one of them raises the question of just the sheer amount of paperwork alone that you'd have to raise to cover the scam would not be viable. All the paperwork that NASA has. The evidence, we're talking about the ancients, we do have ancient manuscripts with their works. So there's the evidence there. And that's it. So those are my thoughts for today. To go back to my starting slide, I've just used PowerPoint. Sun and moon problems. Others will go into a lot more visual demonstrations on why the sun and moon pose issues for flat Earth. So I hope this video has kind of been informative and helpful. And I'll see you on the next debunk video. This Lost Poem, Cryptosmith out. Ciao for now.